First up, this is not a review of the Korean film from 2018 that everyone seems to love. This is a 2022 Hong Kong thriller that attempts to be sexy but falls just a little flat. Hi, I'm the Artie Dance from Asian Film Fans, and this is my review of the Hong Kong thriller Burning. A doctor with a young family gets drunk one evening celebrating the birthday of his best friend. At the bar is a woman he recognises from earlier in the week, where he rescued her while she suffered a panic attack brought on by claustrophobia while being locked in a toilet. He wakes up the next morning in her apartment, unable to remember anything that happened the previous night, but assuming they had sex. He returns home and tries to pretend that nothing happened, but the woman, Fong Yu, begins to obsess over him. She turns up unannounced at his workplace, then convinces his wife to allow her to be their son's piano teacher. After an accident in her apartment block renders her unable to live there, she moves in with them to be closer to him, where her obsession begins to turn violent. So this is one of those thriller type movies where there's a woman who obsesses over a married man and will stop at nothing to try and get at him. Now, immediately coming to mind, if you're someone as old as myself who's been watching movies for a long time, probably thinking of the movie Fatal Attraction, which has the most similarities to this film. But there's also a bit of similarities with something like Single White Female, where both of the characters look rather similar, and the woman thinks that she can get away with that kind of, that kind of look of the wife. But what we get in here is a movie that seems to be inspired by those American erotic thrillers, but never, ever gets into that territory. Now, clearly, it's not as good as its source material. It feels like it's been held back quite a lot. And partly of that is that it feels like the producers have thought perhaps they can try and sell this movie to the mainland Chinese audience, because this is not a co-production. This is a purely Hong Kong film. But in the end, it doesn't seem like this movie made it to the mainland. So they've held back on some of the themes and issues that they should explore, thinking that it would get knocked back in censorship. But the movie has suffered because of it. Now, what it doesn't suffer from is the performance of Dada, Cheng. She plays Fong Yu, and she's got a perfect face for an obsessive person. Her eyes, and in fact the rest of her face in general, are very expressive. And she she really does sell the role of Fong Yu's character. She comes across at times as being very, I want to say weak, but it's not weak. It's more dependent. She comes across dependent. She comes across fragile. And then when she needs to switch it on, she can come across as really obsessive, violent, and focused, one track. But she never really gets an opportunity to fully explore that character. Then we move on to the wife character. And I've got to say, she's a super, super annoying character. And there are parts of me when watching this film that did not feel sorry for her at all. Thinking that whatever this scenario was that was going on, the wife's a pain in the ass. Now, no one ever deserves something like this. But she's a horrible, she comes across in the movie as a very horrible person at most times. Especially when it comes to things like being an utter helicopter parent. Great scene when they're in the school and the parents are being interviewed and the child is being interviewed by the school, and she's just answering every question for the little boy, where they're trying to ask the little boy those questions. And again, there's another scene right at the start of the film that sets this kind of expectation of what type of character she is, where she's chiding the maid. And then a scene later, she's firing her. So we get this impression early on that she's not really a nice character. And then we move on to the husband, Kevin Cheng, who looks far too clean-cut in this role to be taken seriously. There is no part of me at all that looked at him throughout the entire 80-odd minutes of this film and bought the fact that he would ever be the type of person that he was trying to be. So I think Kevin Chung was miscast in this film. Now, what the film does have, and almost does right, is it has this plot twist, but it's right at the end. And I mean, it's right at the end. You have to watch all the way through just before the credits roll. In fact, I think there is a post-credit scene where it happens, to be honest, where you get to find the actual twist of the movie. And then, thus, when the twist happened, you kind of think, the whole movie was a little pointless. Didn't really need to happen. I'm not going to spoil it for you. I think that's maybe something that if you're interested in the film, you should watch it yourself. But it's certainly just be prepared that the ending might not be as great as you think. And thus, the movie is actually a little bit too short. It's really over before it starts to get really good. Now, one might say that there's not enough material in this film to actually make it go longer than the 85 minutes that it is. And it was probably a good idea that it was that short. But a couple of extra scenes to show some obsessiveness, a couple of scenes to show that Kevin Cheng's character could have actually done what he's accused of doing in the movie, or what he actually thinks he's done in the movie, would have been great to explore that a bit more. And then there's a scene where the wife kind of admits that she knows that he cheated on her. But at no stage did I believe that to be genuine. Because of the type of character that the wife is, she's very straight-laced, she's very serious, she's very confrontational. The fact that she would know something like this doesn't make sense that she held it back from confronting him and Dada Chan's character about it. So that didn't work either, that wife making this admission that she knows about the affair. So thus, giving this film a rating, it's really hard to go beyond 2 stars for this one. It's a good-looking cast, but only Dada Chan sells her role in the film. I think Rebecca Jill as the mother is not a likable character. Kevin Chung is just far too clean-cut to be the kind of character that he needed to be in this film. The scenario is also far too safe for a thriller element, and is very soft by comparison compared to the material that it's basing the movie on. But if you've seen this and have a different opinion, please leave a comment below. Please like this video if you enjoyed this review. Otherwise, subscribe to the channel and we'll catch you next time we look at another Asian movie for review.